Well, we live. So I guess you heard about not kind of getting off the subject of fishing, but I guess you heard about the big thing with the South Carolina Gamecocks this year, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you didn't see that?
We live.
Hold on a minute, Joe.
About the big thing with it.
All right, you good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the game we went to Saturday, Carmilla Cardosa. There was 1.1 seconds left on the game clock, and they threw it into South Carolina center. Camila Cardosio is about 6'7", about 210, 215, big girl. She's never made a three-point shot in her life in her career. And she's right above the key. South Carolina's down by 2 points. The buzzer goes off while the ball's in the air, and she hits a three-pointer and wins the game for South Carolina.
It's epic.
And then Sunday, there was a big fight. And that same girl, Cardosio, one of the LSU players, shoved one of the South Carolina players. So Cardosio shoved her, pushed her down, pushed her all the way across the floor. Then the girl that got pushed, her brother jumped over the media table, hit one of the SEC employees and hurt her. He got on the floor. The city of Greenville arrested him. They've got him charged with assault and battery and disorderly conduct. I mean, it was a shit show Sunday afternoon. It delayed the game over 40 minutes. But South Carolina still wound up winning. So, but anyway, let's talk about fishing.
Well, we moved our clocks up recently. When did we move our clocks up, Wes? Day before yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was Sunday, I think.
Whenever we do this, it kind of makes us think it's time to go fishing. You know, it automatically makes us think that spring is here. When in reality, it's usually still a little bit early. You know, normally by the end of the month, 1st of April is really when things really start to turn on. But you do have, I imagine I haven't been on the lake in a while, but I imagine usually this time of year, there are some fish that are coming out of their winter patterns, moving up shallow, and people are starting to get on and that early, that pre-spawn bite. A lot of the fish will be pre-spawn. You know, it's time to break out the red fins for the stripers. It's time for the crappie are moving up on the brush piles, and bass are moving up shallow into the pockets up in the secondary creeks, and things are getting ready to turn on, and everybody's going to be fishing. Everybody's going to be catching fish. It's going to be a great time for everybody. I know last time we had Dieter on the show, we were talking about water temp and photo period and how they affect the bite, like in the spring bite. I think that they both affect the spring bite, but we were talking about, maybe it wasn't photo. Yeah, no, it was photo period we were talking about. I think that like from now, like from when we set our clocks forward to the end of this month, maybe the first of next month, we're going to gain about an hour of daylight, because when we moved our clocks forward, we truly did not gain an hour of daylight. It feels like we gained an hour of daylight, and I think it makes us want to go fishing, and it makes us think that the spring bite is on, but in reality, we didn't. You know, the fish, they're not experiencing any more daylight just because we moved our clocks forward. So I think that's by the time we hit the end of this month, first of next month, we literally do gain an hour of daylight. So photo period definitely plays a role in the spawn, you know. But as you know, Wes, you probably know just as good as any expert in Tennessee that photo period doesn't really affect the spawn in certain areas in Tennessee, because you're getting a spawn on into June, July sometimes. You know, we've caught fish up there, hadn't we? Especially you've caught a lot of fish up there in water temps, 60 plus degree water temps in July and August.
Yeah.
That'll be full of eggs. The fish will be full of eggs. The fish will be full of sperm.
A lot of sperm in them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Clinton Maine says, okay, JR, what part of the Catawba do you believe can produce a 40 pounder? I got the bait and boat if you want to give up the hole.
No, you ain't gonna catch no fish, no 40-pound striper on the Catawba trade, buddy.
The thing about giving up the hole is I could tell you where I think that a 40 could come, but it doesn't mean you're going to catch it. I mean, we all know, just like Daryl was talking about last week, Daryl mentioned one of his favorite baits being that black and chrome redfin. I can't remember. Do you remember if he liked the broke back one or the solid one?
I don't remember. I'm not an artificial bait man, so I don't really pay a whole lot of attention when y'all start talking about that.
Well, I think that you should experience catching a striper on a wake bait at least once in your life. And I brought my red fins in from my boat, but here's a red fin. It's dirty and old, but that's just a floating minnow is all that is. You can see it's got a little bill there on the front of it.
All that looks like to me is a bougie Rapala.
No, this is a Rapala is actually bougie. These are cotton cordell. These are cheap. These are very famous striper bait that is actually one of the cheapest floating minnows you can buy. Yeah, so it's definitely not bougie. And here's a blue one. And so you can take a nickel and you can scrape the paint off of these. And a lot of striper fishermen like to have that bone color. It's got that famous white bone color underneath that paint. And Daryl was talking about his favorite color was the black and chrome. That's what this is here. Now this is a Tennessee redfin. You could see the difference in this solid redfin, the size, and this redfin. This is what you would use on Lake Norman or anywhere else, any other lake in the southeast, and then this is what you would use in Tennessee. You would use this bigger redfin. And I like redfins, but my favorite floating minnow was a bait called a Bomber Long A, and it looks more like this. And this is a black one. Black is my favorite color. I would paint all mine black. But the way you throw those is you get out there early in the morning or late in the evening or at night. But let's say you're in Tennessee and you're fishing up there in April. Let's say you're pulling boards on the Clinch first thing in the morning, dusk, and you hear some fish busting over on the bank. That's when you grab your redfin on a good 7-foot medium heavy spinning rod with a 2500 size spinning reel with some braid or some good limp mono, and you just you launch that thing over there, and then you start reeling it real slow. You just crank it real slow. You want to reel it just fast enough where that redfin there's a brokeback redfin there, but you want to reel it just fast enough where it's just doing this right here, and it's making a wake. You can look behind it, and you can see a V wake coming off of it. Can you turn your notifications down, Wes?
No, that's on my phone. I mean, that's on my watch.
Oh, okay. All right. And the thing about that is, and what Clinton was talking about, I was saying that you can show, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Throwing a redfin in the spring, there's kind of an art to it because you can feel a bite. A lot of times these striper will, during pre-spawn or spawn, they will actually come up with their mouth closed and hit the bait with their mouth closed, so you can't hook them. And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to stun the bait or kill the bait, and then they're going to come back and eat it. And sometimes they'll tail whip it or they'll hit it with their mouth closed, and then they'll come back like just a couple seconds later and hit it and eat it. So
how much damage can they do to a bait just by bumping it with their mouth?
Oh, they can hit it hard.
Tail whoop bait.
Oh, Wes, the striper can hit a bait hard, and they'll knock it up out of the water. They'll hit it so hard.
with their mouth.
with their mouth closed. Yeah, they'll
Oh, I've seen them
they'll
tail whoop
they'll
bait,
just
but
run into it, boom, with their mouth closed,
Hmm.
and they'll stun the bait, and then they'll come back. The secret to that is not to try, because every fiber of your beings is telling you to set the hook on that fish, and that's when because you miss fish. A lot of bass fishermen and any other fishermen that are using trebles like this, it's real easy to miss fish. You want to let that rod load up. You're not really trying to set the hook. You're just trying to, it's almost like a circle hook. You just want to keep on reeling until that rod loads up, and then load her on up. But yeah, that's the secret to that, to working that wake bait, is actually just reel nice and slow. And when a striper hits it, just keep on reeling nice and slow, and it'll come back. And then once that rod loads up, then you got him. But just don't try to set the hook on him, because that's when you miss the fish. Wes, are you planning on going back to Hartwell this year, fishing up there in the what is that place called up there? That river?
Oh,
No,
Kiwi River?
where me and you went. Yeah, the Kiwi River.
I don't know. Ain't got a boat.
Well, you're gonna have to do something. Once you sell your boat, you're gonna have to get you a kayak or something, bro.
I might get something later, but we're fixing to buy a new house, so that's a lot of money that's just tied up sitting out there under my garage.
That's a lot of money. So you know what that means? It means you're gonna have to become a kayak fisherman.
Oh no!
What?
Too much work. I ain't fishing out no
You
kayak.
just put in wherever you plan on fishing.
Dude, I ain't fishing this shit. I ain't got no motor on it. At least a trolling motor.
You can put a trolling motor on it.
I thought we was talking about spots tonight.
Okay. Well, we kind of already did. I talked about how you can show someone a spot, but that doesn't mean they can go catch fish there. Just like, if you're a long liner for crappie, if you're long lining, and I tell you where a spot is that's good for vertical fishing, then you can go long line on it all day. You're probably not going to do good. I remember back 10 years ago, this guy, his name was, he called himself Patriot James. He was on Lake Wiley, and he went live, and he was trying to catch perch, and Dieter had told him where to catch perch, and he couldn't catch any. And then I remember Dieter actually went live, and you could see James over in the distance, and he went up to him, and he was right beside of him, and he was catching perch 4 or 5 at a time, bringing them in the boat, filling his live well up. I mean, just absolutely wrecking them. And James could not catch a single perch. So there's little nuances to, and how you learn how to do certain things is time on the water. You can't just come out there off the couch and just expect to, and that's what I was talking about in the description, how time on the water makes the decision process a lot smoother. It makes things go a lot smoother once you get out there and you start getting those reps in. You kind of get the swing of things. Got a lot of noise, Wes.
That was me. God damn, Junior, that was me moving my mouse.
That was
I
loud.
was moving my mouse.
It's loud. You need
I
some
guess that's
noise. You need noise cancellation.
I got a super good mic. Well, goddamn, I gave $200 for these earphones. How much better can you get?
Well, it sounds pretty good. Your voice is loud and clear.
Well, damn, like if I move or touch something, or if my notification goes off on my phone, you say it's too loud.
It's just
hell,
loud.
boom,
Boom.
all that shit we hear, goddamn, with Daryl Barney's in the background and motherfuckers' phones going off and Pete's shit going off, and hell, is mine that loud?
It's very loud. Yes, it's very. I wouldn't say anything.
Let me see if I can turn it down. How's that?
I don't know. We'll see. But if I wouldn't say anything if it wasn't loud.
Is that better?
Of course, it's loud. I don't hear anything. I mean, is it? I guess we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me take these off. How's that?
Wes, it's going to take time. I don't know instantaneously how it's going to be. We'll see. If we don't hear any more loud notifications and whatnot, then it's
how's
good.
That?
It's great.
I'll take the headphones off.
Can you hear? without the headphones?
Barely, but I can hear you. I've got my volume down low so I can get it.
Why would you take your headphones off? Come on, put your headphones
Well, every
back on.
time something bumps or knocks on my end, you say it's loud, or can I do this, or can I do that? So I don't know. I'm just trying to make you happy at this point. That's about
Okay,
lowest I can go and not hear you.
Well, it's also getting that time of year where a lot of guys are firing up their jet boats. You know, Scott Perry's got a jet boat, and I'm sure he's going to be probably heading up the some river somewhere to try and
Come on, let's
catch some stripers.
The jet boat's the loudest thing in the world.
Well, I don't know. I've never been on a 2-stroke jet boat, but I've been on a 4-stroke jet boat. And I don't know. It could have been loud. It's been years since I've been on one. The jet boat I was on was a Yamaha. The guy had a Yamaha one. I want to say it was a 115, but it was actually a 60 horsepower. Because that conversion, when you convert it from prop to jet, you lose a good deal of horsepower. But yeah, you talk about getting up a river quick. That's the way to go. I mean, because I actually, one of the biggest reasons I bought my kayak was so I could fish upriver in the spring for striper. And what I found out was the very first day I bought my kayak, my Hobie, the pedal drive, I put in a river and I couldn't pedal against the current. The current was taking me. I was pedaling as hard as I could, and I was like burning myself out. And I looked over at the bank, and I'm like, I'm barely moving. I'm moving like an inch. I'm going like an inch an hour. It's snail mode. Okay, and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to work, obviously. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually put up above where I want to fish, and then just roll with the current, and then pull my kayak out and bring it back in. Let's say I want to fish a weir dam. I'd have to put up above that weir dam, come down, pull my kayak out, and then put in on the other side of the weir dam and to throw an anchor out in order to fish that weir, because I can't pedal up to it. You know, I have taken prop boats up into skinny water and rivers, and I've tore so many props up. It just about isn't worth it. But you can repair a prop. So, I mean, it just depends on what you got. You know, if you got a 25 horsepower tiller, which is what I had, I had a spare prop that I would put on. And then when I would get home after going up the river, I would take a ball peen hammer. And I think I would use like a sledgehammer, the side of a sledgehammer, and a ball peen hammer on the other side. And I would try to bang my prop back out. It's you're good because you're gonna hit rocks and stuff. But my buddy, you know, we could go up there wide. We're going 30 miles an hour in as little as 3-4 inches of water. You know, however much the boat drafts. You know, we were hitting that skinny of water, which is insane. It's crazy to look down and see the bottom and what looks like just a few inches of water going 30 miles an hour. But, you know, the thing is, you have to kind of time it. You know, these rivers, when they're releasing water, you know, you're trying to navigate up a river as the water's coming up, you know, then because you have to get up there and you have to fish, and then you have to get back down before they drop the water again, because you can get stuck up there. It's almost like fishing a tide in salt water. It's tricky. It can be tricky.
Well, the big thing is when you're checking flow, and I don't think until you've done it a while and you've watched it, because say for instance, if you're on the Caney, we'll use that one for a perfect example. Depending on how much water they're flowing from the dam, how long it takes to get down where you're at. Say you're 12 miles down the river and they start flowing at a certain amount of CFMs. Well, you people say, well, hey, they're flowing 70,000. Yeah, they might be flowing 70,000, but it could be 3 hours before it goes 12 miles. Depending, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you always got to calculate. People look at those water schedules, say, hey, well, they're running such and such. And it started saying, you're out there fishing, well, they're going to start running such and such at 2:00. We're good. But then, okay, they're going to start running at 2, but if it's going to take 4 hours to get to where you are, So then you got to figure about 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, just knowing, looking at a water schedule don't mean shit. You've got to know what river you're on, how far you are from that down, and kind of be able to calculate how long it's going to be before that flow gets to you. And you have to fish one river a long time to figure out those calculations because they're all different.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I used to do, Wes, is I would take off up the river when I knew they were running water. I would look at the schedule and I would take off up the river. I would get as far as I could. I'm talking till I'm hitting bottom, and I would sit there and wait. And you could see the water rise. And while I was waiting, because I would try to find a river, like a channel bend in the river.
Yeah.
And I would basically tie off to a tree or just beach the boat or whatever. And you can kind of, usually there'll be like a deep pocket or two nearby. You could cast something over there and kind of fish that deep pocket while you're waiting. And eventually you could see the water starting to rise. And then I would crank up, I would take off and go as far as I could again until I ran out of water. And then I would stop and I would just continue to do that. And sometimes depending on how many miles I was going, it would take me hours to get up there. But I have took off up there and took off too late and had no problem getting up there. But that water dropped before I left. And I actually had, on my way back down, I was having to get out and drag my boat over sandbars and stuff because, I mean, I was going to be stuck until they turned the water on again. There's no telling how long I was going to be stuck in that river. So I would try to take off up there and just have to stop and wait on it to get to rise. That way I could get up there and have time to fish, and I knew I could safely get back before the water dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, JR. Now you feeding back. You hear that shit? That's loud as hell.
Nope, I don't hear it. We're all scoping, JR. If you ain't scoping, you hoping. Yeah, I'm not a live scope fan. As far as for crappie are concerned, I guess it's okay for crappie. Crappie are they're very highly sustainable. But
well, besides crappie and bait, what else can you use live scope for? I ain't never heard nobody really catch a striper or hybrid with them or largemouth.
Oh no, they're definitely using largemouth. They're using it for largemouth. That's freaking
side scan for the largemouth.
Oh Lord, no. Live scope has taken over bass fishing. Absolutely taken it over. You got guys that love to shallow water fish and they love to throw frogs and they love to do all this other stuff, but they don't anymore because they know they're going to get their asses kicked by guys live scoping. So they have to go out there and live scope. You're gonna come to the weigh-in with bigger fish live scoping.
Well, how shallow of water does live scope work in, or how deep?
Oh, as deep as the deepest part of the lake. They're going out there marking fish over deep water, casting. They're watching their little small Ned rig, their little Danko rig, whatever the hell they're throwing, and they're catching these fish like it's like fishing a barrel. It's so easy. It's a video game. And they're having to weed through fish to get them, but they're if you get in a bass tournament, especially with professionals, if you were to go fish the some of these local professional tournaments around here that cost several $100s to get in, if you don't have live scope, you're wasting your money. If you look at the tournament results, none of these bass tournaments are won without live scope.
So you don't think side imaging messed it up neither?
Side imaging was groundbreaking when it came out. Kevin Van Dam was kicking ass for years with it before everybody really figured out how to use it. And now that I can, it's a tool. It's actually sonar. It's pinging off of. You're getting a sonar return. It's really not much different than just regular old 2D sonar. Live scope, you're getting a live return of fish. You can see what these fish are doing. You can cast your lure out there and see it dropping and see how the fish are reacting to it. You can throw a lure and you can watch a bass come up to that lure and see if you're working it. You can watch him swim away, or you can watch him follow it. You can see exactly what he wants. You can throw another one. You're just gonna. It just makes it so much easier. You can see them in live. Used to fishing was the only sport in which you couldn't see your opponent. Now it's not. and it's not going to do anything but get worse. The heritage of fishing is gone. It's the live scope's the beginning of the end.
I don't believe that.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully you're right, but we'll see in upcoming years how it goes.
I mean, we're just in an era now where everybody wants the bigger and the best, and the best thing to help you succeed at what you're doing, and that's just where we're at. You're probably going to hear in a couple of years, there's going to be something. It's probably going to be like a fucking picture where I can look at like I'm looking at you on your screen. You can look down there and see the damn fish's eyes.
And that's what I'm saying. That's when it's going to be over. Who wants to do that?
Well,
I sure don't.
I'd love to watch a fish bite my bait.
Not me. That's the whole point. That's the whole thing with fishing is the mysteriousness, the challenge. Like if I can just go out there and see them, like if I were Superman and I could see through the water, and that wouldn't be any fun. I wouldn't do that. Anyways,
if you ain't live scoping, you hoping.
You know how cold fronts, nobody likes to fish a cold front. Cold front normally shuts the fish down. Do you believe that the spring bite, once everything gets in order, once we get that 60+ degree water temp, once we get that photo period, we get that extra daylight, into March, 1st of April, and the dogwoods are blooming, and we got the right moon phase, and everything is moved up, and everything is biting good. Do you think a cold front necessarily will hurt a bite like that? Or do you think that there are times, and spring being one of them, where even if a cold front comes through, there's nothing going to mess up this bite?
I don't know. I'm almost inclined to believe that the moon plays a bigger part on fishing than temperature, a temperature change does. I mean, people say, well, hey, it's 30 degrees. We got a big cold front coming in here. It's been 70 degrees. We've got a cold front coming in. It's going to get down to 40. Hell, how does those fish know how cold it's getting? The water temperature is not going to change that drastic over a night or two. If you got a front that comes in that stays here a week or two, maybe, but just these cold fronts, they say, oh man, it's been 70 degrees. It's going to be 40 degrees in the morning. If that hurts them fish, no,
I agree.
I don't believe that.
I agree with you.
I don't believe that.
I do believe that you might have to work a little bit harder. I do, because you might, if you've been killing them on a flat, you might have to try to compound that structure. You might have to try to find a channel bend with a flat nearby, and maybe some brush, maybe some cover. Like you might have to compound a little more structure. But yeah, I don't really think it affects it. A cold front definitely doesn't affect a spring bite as much as it does any other time of the year. Yeah. In my opinion.
Well, we're gonna try Venice again here in I got 8 days. We'll be down there. We're gonna be down there for 7 days or 7 days, fishing for 5. So no, fishing 4 days offshore. 4 days. So
yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a lot better.
Speaking of Venice, the last time we went down there, February, March tends to be usually a pretty good bite for yellowfin tuna down there, and we got down there prior to a full moon, a couple days before a full, and there were some boats that were doing pretty good, and then we actually went the day of a full. So,
and I think we were one of the very few boats that even caught a fish, from my understanding, that day.
Yeah, it was terrible, and like you were saying earlier, the lunar phase definitely affects fishing. I don't know who said that. Who said this? All it says is Facebook user. I think they should take the robots out of Freightliner and make everyone carry the parts. I think what you're implying is that I am I'm against technology, and that's not the case. I'm all for technology, but I think that there's a line there, and I think that we have crossed that line with LiveScope.
Benji Smith said Mark Cooper. Well, Mark Cooper went down there at the right time, and Mark Cooper was down there for 5 days. We offshore fished for 1 day. So there again, anybody going to Venice, if you can't catch a lot of fish in 4 or 5 days fishing, then you're going with the wrong guide. But there again, Mark Cooper didn't wear shit out in Venice. Mark Cooper's guides put them on fish. As you say, Benji, you like to talk about guides, people going with guides. Your hero, Gingerbread Boy, went with guides just like us and everybody else does down there. So no, yeah. Mark Cooper didn't wear shit out in Venice.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to make fun of the guy.
Well,
he's a good fisherman.
I mean, he is what he is.
He's a good content creator. He's a good fisherman. Yeah. He blocked us, so I mean, fuck him for that. But
he blocked us because Brian Bear said, "Don't be friends with them boys."
Yeah,
and then Brian Bear wound up fucking him in the ass anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just don't like giving them airtime. I don't like talking about them. I don't, because it looks like they're living rent free in our heads. So let's let you guys, if you guys want to watch Mark Cooper, then go on over to Mark Cooper's page. If you want to watch The Real Fisherman, then stay over here and hang out with us. But yeah, we don't want to hear about Mark Cooper. We don't want to hear about Brian Bear. We don't want to hear about anybody that hates our guts and has us blocked. Like, we don't want that to be the topic of conversation. We're not going to give them any more airtime. So,
JR, give me some of your hot spots to fish.
Here's a good spot, Wes. It's that time of year when you can go upriver, like we were talking about, how you places that you need a jet drive. Well, you don't need a jet drive. Here's a little secret for you. If you got a kayak, you can take 2 vehicles, okay, and go to whatever river portion on your reservoir, and there will be a public access, more than likely, up at the dam, up at the very tip top of your reservoir, the river section, as far as you can go until you hit the dam of the next reservoir. There'll be a boat access pretty close to that dam. So what you can do is you can go to drop your kayaks at that access, and then you can drive back down to the very next access, which is going to typically be miles down the river. Okay. You park one vehicle there, and then you take your other vehicle. You got 2 buddies like me. If me and Wes were to go, he'd bring his truck, I'd bring my truck. Would drop the kayaks off up at the upper access, and then he would meet me down at the lower access. We would get in one of our vehicles and drive back up to the top access, and then we would take that river and come all the way down. If we were wanting to fish a weir dam, we would go all the way down until that weir dam, and then we would get out, pull our kayaks around right in front of that weir dam, throw a claw anchor, and sit there and fish that weir dam or fish that river portion of that reservoir. That way you're not working. It's basically like a lazy river. You know how guys take their 2 cars and they go up and they take they tube down the river. Same thing, except you're fishing with kayaks. And the good thing about this is you could go out there and have a good time. Now, I'm not promoting anybody go drinking and boating, but there's no game warden going to be up there. Game wardens, if they do have jet drive boats, they're not getting up in that skinny water, because I mean, they don't train those guys how to navigate that skinny water. They'll tear their damn boats up, and they're not going to be, tearing $100,000 jet drive, vessels up trying to go up river to bust some Wes drinking a Coors Light from his jet drive boat. So it's kind of what I'm saying is it's fun. It kind of gets you off the grid. You don't have to worry about Mr. Green Jeans. You don't have to worry about anybody. There's no fun boaters up there. There's no jet skis up there. Nobody can navigate up there. The only people that can navigate up there is other kayaks or maybe some random dude in a jet drive. And the chances of you seeing someone that has a jet drive boat that's passionate enough to fish up that far upriver is very, very slim. So that's what I'm saying is you kind of have the whole river to yourself, and the fishing is great up there come springtime, baby. That's all I got to say about that.
I ain't getting in shit and ain't got no motor on it, period. You coast the lazy river all you want to. The first thing that would happen is we'd be in a bunch of damn current, and by the time we got down to where I was supposed to get that kayak out. I'd go right on past it because I couldn't stop that son bitch, and I'd be down on the other side of Milton Hill Dam. So
I went to a river, a local river, and wanted to fish a weir dam. And I was going to try to pedal up to the weir dam, and I couldn't. The current was so strong that day I couldn't pedal against the current. And the weir dam was only quarter mile. And I couldn't get up to it. And I remember these hippies were leaving in their canoe. They were coming down river, and they come up to the kayak canoe access there, and they were putting out, and they were like, "Hey, we're headed back up river if you want to ride." And I was like, "Well, no, that's okay. I got my kayak." And they were like, "Oh no, just throw your kayak on back of the truck, man. We got you." And I was like, "Okay," because my car was parked there, my truck was parked there at that.
Did they try to molest you?
Huh?
Did they try to molest you?
No. These were like boonies, like hippies, like North Carolina mountains hippies.
Well, they perverts too.
So I put my kayak on the back of their truck, and it was their Jeep, and they gave me a ride up there to that access up river, and I put in, and it was man, it was easy peasy lemon squeezy, man. I didn't have to do any paddling, and but I do remember it was very foggy that morning, and I couldn't see very far, and I remember hearing rapids. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm not on a whitewater kayak. I'm on a fishing kayak. God, please don't let these rapids be big. And they weren't. But on top of that, I couldn't see the weir dam. So I'm like, oh, my God, I could go over this weir dam. This ain't good. I can't see. But I just kept looking at the bank, and there was this big sign that said danger, whatever, ahead. So I went ahead, and they have they got like this trail where people have, because recreational kayakers, just people out there, fun in their canoes, and they're, just floating the river. Those people they get out and they pull their boats around that weir dam and put it on the other side of it, and you can see where they take them out. And and this ain't just for this river. They do this on just about every river section of every reservoir in the Southeast. And so I this is the first time I ever fished that weir dam. I pulled my kayak out, I put it on the other side of that weir dam, and I paddled as hard as I possibly could. I threw my claw anchor out, and it grabbed instantly.
I'll be right back, Joe.
Below any weir dam is nothing but riprap, and a claw anchor will just one of those little 3-pound foldable kayak anchors. They grab instantly. You just need to make sure you have a knife, just in case you need to cut that anchor rope, because something could happen very quickly. A tree could come over that weir dam. You don't want to dip in your bow. That could you might not make it out of there if something like that were to happen. So you need to be very cautious.
What's happening, JR?
What's going on, Daryl?
Not much, bro.
Talking about the spring bite. I thought about you. I had a redfin.
Yeah, I fished the chrome, but my favorite's that Smoky Joe. It's white and black. I call it white or bone colored.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the chrome and black.
Well, I fish it too, but the actual color on the packet they call it smoke. I'm pretty sure it's called Smoky Joe. You know the one I'm talking about?
I think this is it right here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
You see the black? And
it's kind of a bone on the bottom.
There's
That's
the
it.
bone.
I'm pretty
That's
sure.
The bone color, yeah.
Yeah, it's bone and black. But
yeah.
I'll be honest, when we usually throw them, they'll hit about anything. I got a buddy. I got one in the truck. I was trying to think of the name of it when I have to go get it. It's a lure company that's out of business now. He threw have you ever threw a Top Gun? I'm trying to remember the name of the company that went out of business.
No.
He swore by them. This guy this guy actually works for me. He caught a lot of stripers. He's only fished North Carolina for the most part. He had a brother that fished in Tennessee a lot, but I can't remember for the life of me. I'm on mute so I can go find that lure. that's driving me nuts. I can't remember the name of the
Okay.
company.
Okay. So what Daryl's talking about is throwing like topwater lures, spooks, red fins, bomber long A's, floating minnows. Hedden makes the lure called a spitting image. They make one called a swimming image. There's a lot of famous lures for stripers, and we're just naming a handful of them. But when that water temp hits 60 degrees, on a striper fishery, early in the morning, late in the evening, you can throw these topwater baits on points and other type of structure, and you can hook up on some topwater action, and you haven't lived until you catch a striper on some topwater. Yep. I always did it at night too. Facebook user. He says, I miss the days of chunking a redfin all night as a kid. Yep. There's nothing like it. There's
Oh shit.
You just cast that thing out there and slow roll it and hold on. Somebody said that Daryl reminds me of Troy Swamp. Who is that, guys? Who's that, Daryl? Who is that, Wes?
Troy of Swamp People. I don't know.
Oh, Troy of Swamp People. That's that dude that says, shoot him. I think. Shoot him.
Hey, I appreciate that. I like Troy.
Oh, never mind. He said Daryl. I thought he said Wes reminded me. Okay, yeah. So Daryl reminds me of. Let me hear you say shoot him, Daryl. Shoot him.
Shoot him, Libba. Shoot him.
There you go.
That lure I was telling you about was made by Bagley's. Bagley's is now out of business. That guy he swore by that Top Gun. It was like it looked like a skinny version of a redfin jar.
So it sounds like a bomber long A.
Probably that bomber long A you was holding up looked good. I like that.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I caught more on a bomber long A than anything.
We were going to do it last year the whole time, but I want to fish the shad and the alewives die off in the early, in the late spring when you go out there at night. Supposedly in Tennessee, you can get on stripers and just kill walleye, smallmouth. Everything gets on the points eating on them. I never got into that. Me and Todd was going to do it last year. Everybody talks about getting, because you actually get on the lake at night and, and probably stand to be able to be out there like on Loudon. I guess you could do it on any of them, but I never fished that die off when there's some guys that just swear by it.
There's nothing like it.
There's a guy who does it up in Kentucky on walleye and smallmouth, and he said it's the funnest. Everything's just feeding.
Yeah, freshwater. I think that's probably my favorite. That would be my favorite thing. That the most fun I've ever had freshwater was probably catching stripers at night on redfin type lures, casting over points at night. I've heard that like Smith Mountain is like the best place to do that in the Southeast. I don't know, but I know Norman was good.
The guy who went to Tennessee with me, that Frankie Flippin, he fishes that Smith Mountain a lot. He fishes that Striper Mafia series, and the Smith Mountain is becoming really good. I would fish it more, but shit, it's about as far from me as Tennessee. It's a long ways.
And I bet you that Smith Mountain's there's probably some good management going on that lake. I imagine they got some good biologists. They probably got a pretty good budget for the biologist, and they're probably doing a lot of things that are improving that
one
fishery.
thing that I noticed up there that I don't see in Tennessee, and it may just be the whole group of people I'm with, and it may be because they don't have all the regulations on what you can eat, but the fishery seems to be getting only better. And I'm telling you, everybody that I'm on Facebook with at fish, everybody keeps fish. You know what I mean? You always see them laid on a board dead. There's just not a ton of people. And I know there's a lot of fish kept in Tennessee. And I'm not against keeping fish. You bought your license, that's on you.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? I'm not. If I got guys with me, I tell them, a 12 pounder is going to have almost as much meat as a 20. Let's try to keep a couple, low teens or 10 pounders or something. Most people's good with that. But, and if somebody wants to keep a big fish, I'm I'm good with that, especially when people's wanting to mount them. You know what I mean? You bought your license. I'm not the game warden. I mean, or the, you know,
So
the
Daryl,
patrolman of what people keep.
well, and this question's for West too. Tennessee, as far as Tennessee is concerned, if y'all were to think about now, minus the dam, minus catching fish up at the tail races, but on down from the tail races though, would y'all say that like manicured lawns and development, would y'all say fishing was better in areas like that, or would y'all say fishing was better in like more primitive areas, more undeveloped areas, like more wooded, unkept, a lot of trees and brush and stuff on the shoreline? Which type of area you think is better in Tennessee?
I can't really. I mean, it's all kind of rural where I fish at, down the Clinch and down the. I mean, we fish all the way into town at Loudon, and it gets pretty busy. But so it's a river system, JR. So it's not like the lake. It's
right,
yeah.
I
mean, as far as the lake would go, the
keep
primitive
going. I'll be
areas,
right back.
the less. I mean, there ain't a lot up that system where we all like to fish at, but I don't know that it really makes that much difference.
What are you up to, Daryl?
Just having a lazy night, man. Still adjusting to the time change. I love it though.
Won't you buy a real boat? Won't you buy my boat, and then you can go to Chesapeake Bay and catch your own fish?
I can't. I'd love to have that boat. You want me to tell you who surprised me, who's dying to buy that boat?
Johnson. Anthony. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really, I heard him trying to sell it to a guy while I was on the phone today. He said, man, I got a real buy. I said, I'm telling you this thing. I told him, I said, I don't know. Has Anthony been on it?
He's seen it. I don't think he's been on it yet.
I told him, I said, you won't believe how nice it and how well kept it is. I said, that thing is, it's like pristine. So I don't think you'll have any trouble. I haven't even saw it listed. Anthony was the one told me that you had it for sale, but that's like if I was gonna attempt on my kind of budget, I think that would be what I would want, because I want 2 engines, and I've always heard that there ain't nothing. You either go 115 Yamaha or 140 Suzuki for economy, and both of those are well renowned for being good on gas. They all gonna use quite a bit of gas, but both of them are really, really, really. That boat that I guess Hovis and some guy named John owns or something that they passed around at Sea Ark that has an older 140. I think it's like a 90. It's got to be one of the first 4-strokes. But Anthony had that boat when he knocked the lower unit off the boat I got, and we fished off of it. And I'm telling you, that 140 runs so good on that boat. I forget how many. It had a buttload of hours on it though. But I'm telling you, it ran good. It's
I think my motors may, and I'm roughly guessing, they may have 200 hours on them.
Right.
And I would say 25 or 30 of those hours are idling from where we bottom fish, because I don't ever shut them off when we offshore.
Right.
Those motors have got many, many years of use left on them. So,
yeah, I see, you see guys who change out everything in the salt as soon as the warranty's out, or every 3 to 5 years. And then you see the opposite of that. You see guys, I've seen a lot of, because I always watch, when I see Suzuki's, because I got one too,
Yeah.
And, you see 4,000 or 5,000. I've seen more than that, but 4,000 ain't it, that they don't even blink an eye.
Well,
I'm impressed how
that
much a
one
couple
year.
thousand hour, even a 2,000 hour saltwater motor will bring.
Yeah.
That shit's high.
Well, mine was only in salt water that 1 year, but I flushed the motors. Every time it was brought in, I washed the boat down.
I think one of these days, 4-strokes, I mean to interrupt you, but one of these days, 4-strokes are eventually going to get a lot cheaper, because I think they still bring a lot of money now, because you still got a ton of people trying to get out of a 2-stroke, right?
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends that run 2-stroke still and swear by them. Doug's one of them. But
Well,
eventually,
most of your mechanics, especially if you go to a place like Palmetto Boat Center, or Strickland's Marine around here, any of these bigger places, these kids don't even know how to work on a two-stroke.
right.
If they can't hook a computer up to it, they don't know how to diagnose it. Hell, these two-stroke motors are older than most of these mechanics is trying to work on them now.
Well, I got a buddy. I got friends. I do the Harley thing too. So Harley's got a limit cut off. Well, that's what the boat places have started doing. Anything older than like a 2000 model, or some places now, because they got so much business, if it's over 10 years old, they tell you to take it somewhere else.
Yeah,
It's great. I mean, literally turning down any kind of business, and just I don't know what the point is of that. I had a buddy who called the Harley shop, and he's got a bike that he never rides, and they wouldn't even put a tire on it. He said, "Man, I know y'all won't mount a tire. I mean, what difference would it make what year it was whether you mount it?" I said, "We just don't do it. Go down the road to such and such." I thought that was funny, but that's I figure either, and it may not ever happen, but eventually either people will run out of parts on the two strokes, or I mean, I'll be honest, that's those, like on the jet drive stuff, that everybody loved those little 90 Yamahas because they weigh 300 pounds and they run so good on a jet drive. That was the motor to have. I still got a lot of buddies who run that motor. And do you see some kind of saltwater? Because I was on the Yamaha owners and the Suzuki. They made some kind of like 200s and 250s in the two strokes that they called it like an OBX 66 or something. You might know what that is, but
that's the motors. That's the motors that was on that boat Todd bought, that offshore catamaran.
That's what people
That's
swear
the
by them
that was on that
things.
boat.
They run them things 7,000-8,000 hours.
Yeah.
And swear by them motors.
Well, like I said, I've dumped a lot of money. Hell, I just put new hub assemblies all the way around it. Almost $3,000 for a fucking, well, a little over $2,000 for that ionic battery and charger. Then I got that wireless radar on it. It's got that Garmin 126 SV with a GT feed. That transducer on that boat was $700 fucking dollars. Then I got that. I got the Garmin 1026. It's, all that's linked together.
I want the Stella. How much is the Stella?
$1,000.
Damn, Wes.
How much is what? Yeah, Stella. Yeah, I've got my Stellas ain't for sale.
That's what I want.
Huh?
That's what I want, the Stella.
Oh no, I'm not selling you my Stellas.
Oh, you got multiples of them?
I got 3 of them.
Damn. What size are they?
10,000.
I got you. Big boys.
Don't tell Mike Bradford that. He'll be wanting to buy them.
Anthony said somebody was bringing him some van styles. I never saw one. I want to see one of those. That's the ones that you can run without a bell, or
yeah, they don't have a bell.
I don't know how does that work. You ever seen one?
When you throw one, you got to take your finger and like when you go to cast it, you take your finger and hold the line and put it back behind the bell, and the bell's just got a little hook on it.
Okay, but what picks the line back up is what I always wondered.
That little hook. Once you hook it back up, then that winds your line back on the spool.
I got you.
Google Van Stall. You can see one. Google.
I looked at them, but I never could. I never really studied it out. But I know they're high end. People swear by them for life too that ever use one.
They're really used by a lot of bank fishermen.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you're sitting over there, when you've been over there at Fort Loudon and saw them off the bank when they're doing all that jerking.
Yeah,
I'm telling you that I've been against the wall that separates the generators and the thing, and they've been on the other side. You can't get far enough away from them guys when they throwing those weighted treble hooks.
Yeah,
it's well, I saw a guy hit the wall at Melton Hill. You know how far that is?
Yeah.
He hit the wall from standing on the concrete like it wasn't nothing. Every cat.
Well, that ain't that far though. Melton Hill Down's nowhere near.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't do it with a normal rod and reel times 2. You know what I mean?
I could take a 2 ounce. I could put a 2 ounce weight on a spinning rod and cast it all the way across Melton Hill Down.
Right. But it's whenever it loud, and that's pretty impressive when they throw all the way over. It ain't impressive when it hits you side of your boat, but
What'd you do to JR, Daryl?
I don't know what happened, man. I think you had him hot a while ago. You was beating around, making all that noise.
I don't know what the deal with that was. Like every time I moved a breather from my phone, he said something about the noise. I said, fuck it. I just took him goddamn headphones off, make him happy.
It wasn't that loud. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
I don't know what he's talking about. He gets.
He might have, I mean, whatever he's listening to might be sensitive or something. I don't know.
Well, JR is sensitive. You didn't know that? No, Daryl, Benji, we're fixing to buy a new house. And,
I can't see the chat. I lost my chat.
Benji will know I was selling my boat. I was just telling we're fixing to buy a new house.
I lost
Somebody
it.
said JR might have went to pick up his live scope.
I like that one.
JR is the only person I've ever heard say that they didn't like live scope. He's the only person I've ever heard say that.
There's some YouTubers out there that's making it a thing. I think that's just because they got a niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a couple guys who just ran every day about it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of their thing. But I mean, it's like, I'm like you. If it comes down to it's a picture like I'm looking at you, that's what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, we almost there. I mean, you can I can tell I'm not very good with mine, but the one thing that I can see that just shows up like unbelievable is like you see the big fork in the paddlefish. Me and Johnson, but I mean, you can literally see the fork on them on 2D though. But to look at them things on live scope, but I had some fish. They had turned off all the water at Melton Hill, and we were watching fish swim right. I mean, literally beside. Mine's mounted on my trolling motor, so they were swimming like directly beside the trolling motor up there, and it's so cool to see them because you differentiate the head from the tail, obviously, and the bigger the fish is, the better. But
you know what I believe? I believe Garmin right now. I believe Garmin's already come up with something that's better than live scope. They're just waiting until live scope plays out. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets comfortable with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's where the price is going to come down. It's not going to be a big seller. And all of a sudden, they're going to hit the market with something else that's probably twice as good as live scope.
Well,
that's what I tell you.
They literally, because I asked the guys up at the Great Outdoors. So they went from an LV 32 to a 34 transducer, and they've sold literally millions of them. And the guy told me, he said, you're on the same, if you think about it, think about your old car amplifier when you used to put it to your speakers. That's what the black box does to your live scope screen. It basically it looks just like our old car amplifiers, that you run your subwoofers off of. And he said, until that box changes, it's not going to be that much different. Now the 34 is better. I didn't upgrade, but you wouldn't believe, to your point, how many people. I mean, they just dumped all the 32. You can buy a 32 transducer now for, nearly nothing, because everybody upgraded. The upgrade to the other transducer was $1,000. The whole system ain't $1,500. But, well, I say system, but the live scope part of it. But it's a.
I guarantee they've already got something that's going to blow live scope out of the water. They're just letting live scope run its course, make all the money they can make off that technology, just like they did when they come out. I thought down imaging was the best thing. I love down imaging. I still love it today. And then after that played out, after about 4 years, 5 years, then boom, they come out with side scan.
Well,
side scan stayed around for 5 or 6 years, and then boom, now they've come out with live scope.
Because to my knowledge, it's not illegal, but like to JR's point, that Kevin Van Dam had better side scan than anybody because he was testing and running whoever he fished for, Lawrence or whoever it was at the time. He was testing all their stuff way before it ever got released, right? Mm-hmm. Just like lures, you know what I mean? Them guys are throwing lures, rod and reels. They're like 2 years ahead of,
I think what we're going to happen, but nothing's had an effect like live scope. I think live scope's actually got the ability to change what fish do. Like you remember when
Joe, I
the
got a question. I got a question right quick. If honestly, if me or somebody you knew bought you a live scope system tomorrow and put it on your boat, you saying you wouldn't use it? Let's be on being honest.
no, I would use it. Yeah.
There you go.
But you say that, JR, but have you not talked to people that fish were running from live scope? That's the thing.
That do what now?
So you haven't heard. I mean, the crappie fishermen and especially the bass guys will tell you that the fish, especially the bass guys, that the fish will run from the live scope. It's pinging them. It's pinging them in the head, just like people say the graph does. There's places that it just doesn't. You can't sit on top of them like you could when it first started. I heard it from Smith Mountain, as Frankie says, that the fish will just, and I think stripers hate it, but I don't know that. I'm not saying that. I've not experienced what I'm talking about.
I've heard that too.
Talked about it.
Yeah, I've heard that too. If you remember back when A-rigs came out, they were smashing them on A-rigs, catching huge weights in bass tournaments, and they were. It was a game changer, and then it's like the fish got used to them. The fish got used to the Kitex. The fish, they get used to certain things, and
I learned a long time ago that ping and that a striped bass don't like it. When I find fish, if we find like a lot of fish and we're fishing on them, I turn all my stuff off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that fish do get conditioned to certain things, and I think that eventually fish, when they're in the wintertime, when they're out deep, for example, you may not be able to find them in those areas where they should be, where they typically are from year to year. Once people start smashing them out there, every day.
I was going to answer your question you asked earlier about the cold fronts too, because I was just dying to talk about that. I think that's all about where you're at, Joe. I mean, in the river systems we fish, it will affect it, but nothing like it does, I think, because I fished, not a lot since I've been, but just fishing my life in general is, through a lot of lake fishing. I think it affects it a lot more when you're not dealing with current situations. Would you agree with that?
100%, yes.
I don't think when you're fishing a lot of current, like I fish the river here. I grew up on the Yak, and a cold front, if the fish are biting down there, a cold front don't affect it. But I'll tell you what really does is the moon does. I mean, even in a lot of current, is the fish will either, depending on what you're fishing for, they'll shut off or turn on, and depending on whether you're day or night fishing, obviously a night bite's pretty good sometimes on a bright moon.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a pure river system. But I really don't think a lot of the way that we fish in Tennessee, most of all the spring, I don't think a cold front has that much effect. Now, we're also not talking about it going from 90 to 40, you know what I mean? But like now, we got like crazy. It's crazy now. It's 32 this morning, and I'm sure we got to 75 here where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're at that point where we're getting 30 to 40 degree deltas in our lows and highs. It's that time of year. Well, I think I've covered about everything I wanted to cover tonight. What about you guys?
I want to know where number 10 Peter's at.
Pete, he said he wasn't going to be able to make it. He's busy with work. He said that there was a chance that he would make it, but it would be really late. So
I was going to harass him about his finish in the crappie tournament.
Yeah, well, he didn't finish too bad.
Did you see the weights?
They had very good big fish weights.
15-9 to win on bait on 7 fish.
That is that's good. Those early spawning crappie. That's the magnums. It's that time of year. If you want to catch big crappie, right now is the time to do it. If you wait till April, if you wait till that spring bite is in full force, you're not going to catch as big a crappie. Those bigger fish show up first, and I think that's for just about any species.
A lot of friends who was fishing that trail, so I was looking at the top 6 literally had 13.5 pound and up. That's almost.
Yeah, there was a lot of big fish that
average.
were 2 pounds for big fish. It was great. Yeah, that's great, man.
I mean, Yeah, I mean, but I'll be honest. Around here, until lately, I guess it's the live scope might have changed that too. I'll agree with you. But I mean, a 2 pound crappie is not just a normal everyday occurrence.
That is a massive crappie. A lot of guys will
that's
call a
not
crappie
that's not-
2 pounds, but it won't be 2 pounds. Like that's 2 pound
Right,
crappie is
yeah.
is a very sizable fish. That's a 15, 17 inch crappie. You know, a lot of guys call slabs. You know, growing up, we called slabs 1 pound crappie. They had to be a pound to be a slab. You know, you
Well,
got
that
some
pound
guys
and
that
a
would
quarter,
say,
I'm in love.
they say, yeah, a lot of guys say, you know, oh man, we're killing the slabs. I'm like, nah, I don't think you're killing the 1 pounders. I think you're probably killing the 12, 13 ounce fish maybe, but a pound is 16 ounce. That's a 16 ounce crappie.
The first time I
pretty
ever
sizable.
caught 1 pound crappie any consistency was after Jordan got some age on it. You remember when everybody from North Carolina, I think the whole world went down there and beat them up. You'd go catch 100 in a night.
I tell you who could catch some crappie if they wanted to. That's Wes Rose. You know, when Wes came down to get in that hybrid tournament with us on Norman, I took him out on my boat, and we just goofing off. We kind of shot over to some boat ramps, and he grabbed one of my spinning rods on my boat that had a jig on it, and he pulled that jig back behind the barb, and he bowed that rod over, and he shot that jig probably 30, 40 feet. And there was a pole right there in front of a boat dock, about 30, 40 feet away. And he was like, you may hit that pole. They pulled that thing back, and bang, he hit that pole from like 40 feet away. And I was like, damn, that's pretty good. I think Wes knows, I think he knows more about like freshwater reservoir fishing than I just don't think he's very interested in it. It's hard to talk about something if you're not interested in it. But he can do it. He can catch,
Yeah, I can shoot docks.
he can crappie fish. All right, guys. Wes, it's been a great show, man. Hour and 15 minutes. That's not bad, right?
No. Oh, I was going to show you something here if I can find it.
Okay.
I can't find it. Let's see.
What are you looking for? Something on your phone?
Yeah. I've only got like 10,000 fucking pictures on here.
You trying to find a crappy picture, aren't you?
Yeah.
Having to sort through 1,000 striper pics to.
I don't crappie fish, but I bet you I've only caught a handful of 6 or 2 pounders in my life. That's just being honest.
Yeah, me too.
2 pounders impressed me. I'm still amazed at that tournament.
That's right. Yeah, 2 pounders are crazy.
I mean, I don't crappie fish, but
now, how were they weighing those fish, Daryl? What was they doing, man? Was they weighing them fish in them?
Come on now.
Was that some damn 8 ounce crappie that they were weighing in a 2 pound net?
I didn't get any measurements. I didn't see the golden rule, and I didn't see.
I mean, that seems hard to believe, man. There was a lot of like 1.99, 2 point this, 2 point that for big fish. It's kind of hard to believe.
All them was shooting the docks.
Shooting the docks. There you go, man. The guy that taught me how to fish artificials for crappie, he shot docks. I'm not a real big dock shooter. I'll pull up to a dock and I kind of just toss it, up in between like a tune on a pontoon boat and the dock, and I kind of work it back, stuff like that. As far as like bending it back and like actually shooting it, I can do it, but I'm probably not amongst the best.
Why was you so surprised? Because you seen I could shoot a dock.
Well, because you don't like that kind of fishing. I don't know if it's because you grew up on it. It's something that it just doesn't seem cool to you or what. But you just don't really talk about doing anything like that. So that's why.
You know what I'm looking forward to. Our trip down to we got planned. Daryl's almost got his boat ready. I met Darren. Our buddy Darren is building a 30-foot pontoon from scratch. He just got the tunes. And this thing's going to be beautiful. It's got a bathroom in it, fully enclosed. He's going to have a flat screen TV in there, a bathroom.
Dang.
And me and JR.
It's a houseboat.
Yeah, basically a houseboat. It's really nice.
Probably going to have live scope on that flat screen.
Well, me and JR and my buddy Parks Evans and T Evans. Parks is T's daddy. I don't know if you know T or not. And we're all going to, it's going to be me and Darren, Parks, JR, and T. We're making a trip down to Santee in April. I think it's going to be about the middle of April. And Darren wanted to do JR to do some video to kind of help promote his business because he's going to start guiding. Darren is a super good guy. Let me see if he's got any pictures up, JR.
You know, Benji asked, is anyone doing any night fishing yet? You know, I wouldn't mind doing, guys, and I know that you guys aren't going to do this, but
Hell no, Benji. Who's going to go at night when it's 30 degrees at night and 70 today?
yeah,
know what?
that is true. It's still a tad early, Benji, but I think that potentially there could be the night bite could be turning on. There could be some magnums at night, especially on like dock lights and stuff. I think that you could catch some big fish right now, honestly.
I was taught by the best, Benji. Anthony Johnson, he
That's
said
nice,
fishing
Wes.
at night for MFers who can't catch them during the day.
Yeah, I mean there is some truth.
Hey, don't
There's
believe
some truth.
everything Shorty Johnson tells you.
That's all he ever tells me when I ask him if he ever striper fished at night.
Well, the thing is, you know,
same answer every time.
He's a guide, and you know, clients don't typically like to stay up all night. You know, they're typically older. They got money, obviously, to pay a guide to take them fishing. So they're more likely to go to bed at 8 o'clock and wake up at 5 a.m. And they prefer daytime fishing. But there's a lot of fun to be had out there at night. I tell you what.
Look how big that enclosure is, JR.
Oh wow, that's nice. That's really nice. And I noticed that was a tri-tune.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah. Because pontoons, you have to be careful with a pontoon. Weight distribution is very critical on a pontoon boat. You don't want to put a 50-gallon bait tank in the wrong place when you got 3 or 4, 200+ pound guys on the boat and you're going to fish a river with some current. And you're just asking for trouble. I went down there
with Doug, and I'm telling you, you want to see the nicest pontoons you ever seen in your life hooked up. You go to Black's Camp and they watch them roll in there. I mean, them guys, they got it figured out for pontoons.
Something about Santee, man, and pontoons. That's the way to go.
Right.
But I went with a friend of mine to Tennessee on his pontoon. He's got I want to say it's a 20-foot tracker pontoon, and we had a bait tank up right in front of the console. The side console pontoon had a bait tank right in front of the console, and it was me and my buddy and another guy, and we're all over 200 pounds, and we were going up the Tennessee River, and we hit the smallest boat wake that you can imagine. It was just like a ripple. And when we hit that thing, that pontoon boat took a dive like a submarine. The water, we went under the water all the way up to the console. It scared us to death. And that's when we realized, okay, we're going to have to distribute the weight a little better on this thing. I didn't realize it was that weight sensitive. I thought those things had more weight capacity than they do. But you got to be careful on a pontoon. I could see why these guys are going with these tri-tunes nowadays.
Yeah, every one of them you see down there is usually they got the third tune in them. And a lot of them, even if you don't see it, it's like a 3/4. That's the thing too. I mean, I don't know anything. I really don't, but I was checking them out. You know, even if you don't see it, it's under there. It's just 3/4 of the way.
Yeah, you're right.
On
You're
a lot
right,
of them on
Benji.
Santee.
Yeah. Benji said, I love being on the water at night, man. There's absolutely nothing like it, dude. Being on the water at night, pulling up to a dock light and kind of staying about 80 to 100 feet away and kind of making that first cast up there to that dock light, trying to kind of be stealthy. You shut your
JR's got his eyes closed like he's having an orgasm.
Hey, there's nothing like it, man. You shut that big motor down, you coast in on that light. You're about 100 feet away from it, 80 feet away from it. You make that first cast up around that dock light, and you're seeing everything from 4 or 5 foot gar swim through, big trophy largemouth bass, 3, 4, 5 pound spot bass, magnum perch, big crappie, big hybrid swimming on their side. You got all this life up around all these lights at night, and yeah, there's nothing like it.
The only thing I don't like about night fishing is fucking bugs. When them shit starts going in
Let
my
me tell you a
mouth,
little
my
secret.
eyes,
Let me tell you a little secret, Wes.
they don't make enough off.
Let me tell you a little secret. You may not have known this, and Daryl, you may not have known this, but did you guys know that after 12 a.m., after midnight, there's no more bugs? Bugs are gone. So there's a little tip for you if you want to go do some night fishing. If you could schedule it to where you're going to be out there past midnight, just tough it out until midnight, and then there's all those bugs are gone after midnight.
Last night, me and Shane Howiton was fishing at Chill Howie, catching all them fish. Them motherfuckers eat our ass up till 5:30 in the morning.
Did they? What was that? No-see-ums?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the no-see-ums, but
I don't either. I just know they'll get on your ass.
I just know that we kill it all, JR, and run the green lights. And I'm telling you, the hydroglows, they don't, in the water, you don't have to fight them. Bench,
Yep.
if you like night fishing, you're going to love catching bait with me, babe. I'm telling you, you're going to love it.
That's what's cool about night fishing is, you pull up to a dock light or you put a light out like you're talking about, whether it be sodiums on a generator or a 4-foot hydroglow or whatever it is. And, you can fish for several different species. You got a couple catfish rods out, you might be casting a topwater lure. You got, there's no telling what you're going to catch. You
I've
catch
been
all
in
kinds of stuff.
Tennessee fishing at night and get back to the bank or sitting there for a couple hours cut bait and turn a light on, and you can't even see the bottom of the boat. It looks like there's a million dead bugs in the bottom of it.
Wow.
Shit on that.
You must be talking about mayflies, like the mayfly hatch or something.
I don't know what they are. But that night me and Shane was up there, them no-see-ums was tearing their ass up. I put my hoodie back on and tried to keep my face covered up. Hell, I was bit all over the
Well,
place.
I mean, you guys are old though, dude. You guys were probably you're probably talking about like dusk till like 10 o'clock at night or something. You're probably talking about you ain't out there at no 3 a.m., are you?
Dude, we stayed out there till 5 o'clock that morning. Dude, we started catching fish at 5:30 that afternoon.
Was that the night was they tearing y'all up all night all the way until
Yes.
5 a.m.?
Hell yeah. But we wasn't leaving them fish. Dude, we caught 18 fucking fish in 23 hours. None of those fish was under 25 pounds, not one of them.
Well, I remember that trip. That was when y'all went live.
Yeah,
And,
you was drunk down at Myrtle Beach riding your bicycle down the
That's
street.
right. Yeah. And now we're catching those things on Daiwa saltuses.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I enjoyed it. I got to run.
Okay,
Too,
Daryl.
buddy.
Thanks for coming
I got
by.
a job to put in the morning.
See y'all.
All right. Good
Y'all
night.
have a
Buddy.
good night. JR, it's been a good show, buddy. I'll try to be more quiet for you next week.
Love you, man. See you guys.
Y'all
Good
too.
night.
Bye.